Imagine setting sail as a teenager, bound for one very specific future, only to discover an entirely different, world-altering destiny waiting for you across a vast, unfamiliar ocean.
Hmm.
What does it truly take to pivot so profoundly from an expected path? And, well, what immense unforeseen impact can such a singular decision have, not just on one life, but, on the trajectory of entire nations?
That's a powerful question, a really profound one, actually, and it's right at the heart of our deep dive today. We're embarking on this fascinating journey into the formative London years of Muhammad Ali Jinnah, a figure whose early life choices, made so far from his homeland, really reverberated through history with monumental, undeniable consequences.
Absolutely. So our mission, this deep dive, is to truly unpack those specific experiences, the profound influences, and, well, the personal transformations that led a young man initially sent abroad for commerce, right?
Yeah, that was the plan.
To wholeheartedly embrace law as his true calling.
Yeah.
And this foundational period, as we'll meticulously uncover, ultimately laid the intellectual and moral groundwork for his future leadership.
It really did.
And to bring this pivotal time to life, we've pulled from, well, a substantial stack of articles, historical accounts, and some deep biographical research. So think of this as your shortcut, to understanding a crucial, character-defining phase in history, packed with surprising facts and illuminating insights. Okay, let's unpack this then. A boy from Karachi, a world away from London's grandeur, embarking on a journey that would forever alter his path and ultimately shape nations. It's almost cinematic, isn't it?
It really is a narrative of self-discovery, an unfolding against the backdrop of an empire at its absolute zenith.
Yeah.
It truly is. And the story begins quite precisely. In 1893, Muhammad Ali Jinnah, just 16 years old, set sail from Karachi.
16.
Now, his father's intentions for this journey were not just clear. They were intensely pragmatic, deeply rooted in the economic realities and societal expectations of that time.
Makes sense.
Young Jinnah was supposed to apprentice in trade, learn the intricate ropes of business in, well, the beating heart of global commerce, and then return home, his mission, to bolster the family's thriving commercial ventures, secure their prosperity, for generations to come.
So it wasn't really a suggestion.
Oh, not at all. It was the expectation, a responsibility ingrained in the familial and societal norms of the era.
Right. For young men from prominent trading families back then, particularly from communities like the Ismailis in Karachi, the path was often, well, pretty clearly laid out.
Yeah, follow the footsteps.
Exactly. You followed in your father's footsteps, built upon established success, ensured a stable, prosperous future, maintained the family legacy. It was very practical vision, almost risk-averse, you can say.
Definitely.
The idea of venturing into something as uncertain and, frankly, as potentially unlucrative as a legal or political career, especially for someone from his particular background, that would have been almost unthinkable.
Completely off the map, really.
It represented a deviation from a well-trodden, successful path into, uncharted territory with far less predictable outcomes.
And what's truly illuminating here is to consider that socioeconomic context. Imagine the sheer weight of those expectations, familial, societal, pressing down on a 16-year-old.
Heavy stuff.
His father's vision was all about continuity, about assured prosperity, a very tangible, understandable goal rooted in generations of mercantile success. Now contrast that with the unknown, the completely uncharted territory of a life dedicated to law or public service, which at that point was probably just a nascent, maybe even a rebellious curiosity for young Jinnah.
So the stakes were incredibly high for him to just stick to the plan.
Immense. Fulfilling those family expectations was paramount.
You can almost feel the anticipation, can't you? That moment of departure from the familiar shores of Karachi, stepping onto that steamship, sailing towards the daunting yet, well, alluring heart of the British Empire.
Yeah, you really can.
It wasn't just a physical journey across thousands of miles of ocean. It was an immense cultural and psychological leap. Our sources really paint a vivid picture of the sheer scale of that decision. And the burgeoning curiosity within this young man, perhaps already wrestling, even subconsciously, with the weight of his father's very specific plans and, the pull of an unknown future.
And this truly crystallizes the what-if of history, doesn't it? Because if Jinnah had simply adhered to his father's pragmatic vision...
Right, if he'd just gone back to business.
Exactly. Had he returned to Karachi as a successful businessman, the geopolitical landscape of the subcontinent might be profoundly unrecognizable today. Just consider the counterfactual.
It's mind-boggling.
How different Jinnah's personal life, and indeed the entire history of a region encompassing hundreds of millions of people, might have been if he had simply followed that expected commercial path.
Yeah.
The choices he made in London, however seemingly personal and internally driven at the time, they just rippled through history with monumental force, fundamentally reshaping national identities and borders.
But, as our sources emphatically reveal, this was far more than just a business trip for young Jinnah. This was the defining journey of his life.
Absolutely.
A pivot point that would redirect the current of his destiny entirely. Because when he arrived, London wasn't just any city. It was something else.
Oh, indeed. London in 1893 was an absolute colossus, the unrivaled nerve center of the globe.
Right.
It wasn't just a capital. It was the undisputed nexus of global politics, the very pulse of modern law, a vibrant hub of culture, and quite literally the workshop of the world driving the Industrial Revolution.
So for a young man from the relatively quiet, sun-baked narrow streets of Karachi, coming from such a vastly different cultural and urban landscape,
it must have been an experience that was both overwhelming and simultaneously deeply inspiring. The sheer scale and dynamism of it all, it would have been intoxicating.
overwhelming is truly an understatement. Our sources vividly describe the stark contrast. The narrow streets of Karachi versus the grandeur of the empire. You could almost sense it. The perpetual, often heavy, foggy weather. Quite a change from the clear skies of his homeland.
Yeah, totally
The
different.
rhythmic clatter of countless horse-drawn carriages on cobblestone streets, the incessant, relentless hum of bustling crowds, the, cacophony of commerce and culture.
Yeah.
Then there were the imposing gaslit theaters, the exclusive gentlemen's clubs, and the iconic Parliament building with its majestic Gothic towers, all signaling a world of immense power, profound influence, and deep-seated tradition.
A sensory explosion, a different universe, really.
Completely.
This environment was, in every sense, a crucible for shaping character and intellect. For someone like Jinnah, initially unfamiliar with its rhythms and deeply ingrained social structures, it presented both immense cultural challenges and, well, unparalleled intellectual opportunities.
Right.
London wasn't just showcasing its industry or its culture, it was projecting its power, its system of governance, its sophisticated legal framework. In this city, law wasn't merely a profession one chose.
No.
It was the very language of leadership. The complex mechanism through which the British Empire operated, maintained order, and extended its vast influence across the world.
So for Jinnah, London became like a living, breathing textbook on power and governance.
Precisely.
And that's what makes this so profoundly significant. To master law in London was, in a way, to master the key to understanding and perhaps even wielding that power.
Yeah, absolutely.
It was an education not just in statutes and precedents, but in the very architecture of governance, the nuanced art of persuasion, the rigorous discipline of logical thought.
And this epiphany, it transformed his understanding of leadership from, commerce to the constitutional, from personal profit to public purpose.
A huge shift.
What's truly fascinating here, though, is how immediately Jinnah was drawn away from his initial commercially prescribed purpose.
Right, almost straight away.
The sources indicate that almost upon arrival, this young man, barely out of his teens, recognized that his path lay elsewhere. This speaks to a powerful, innate talent, perhaps, a preternatural inclination towards order, logic, governance, finding a true, stimulating environment.
Like a key finding its lock.
Something like that. It suggests an almost immediate recognition of where his abilities could truly flourish, beyond the confines and expectations of commerce. It was an intuition, maybe, a deep-seated knowing that this new world held his true calling.
Here's where it gets really interesting. Because almost immediately, this young man realized, I'm not going to be a trader.
Yeah.
I'm going to be a lawyer. And to become a lawyer in London, back then, meant going to the best, right?
Yeah.
To an institution steeped in centuries of legal tradition.
Precisely. He enrolled at Lincoln's Inn. Now, for those unfamiliar, Lincoln's Inn wasn't just any institution. It was one of the 4 inns of court.
The big leagues.
Absolutely. Among the most ancient and prestigious establishments for legal education within the entire British Empire, this was where the absolute best barristers, the leading legal minds, were trained, steeped in centuries of common law tradition and the rigorous discipline it demanded.
So getting in was a big deal.
A huge deal. Admission here was a mark of serious intent and intellectual promise.
So it wasn't just about picking a law school, was it? This was about gaining admission to an elite establishment, a very specific and powerful social and intellectual fraternity.
Definitely.
For a young Indian man, especially one who was making such a significant, unexpected career pivot, securing a spot here was not only a testament to his ambition and intellect, but also a critical step into the highest echelons of the legal profession.
No, absolutely. It opened doors, literally and figuratively, to a world of influence and rigorous thought. Think about the historical significance, the weight of centuries contained within those walls. Imagine the atmosphere of Lincoln's Inn, the ancient, hallowed buildings, the quiet dignity of the stately halls, the sheer weight of history and legal tradition that permeated every stone. What would it have felt like for a young man from Karachi traversing those storied corridors where generations of legal minds had honed their craft?
Must have been awe-inspiring.
He would have been observing court proceedings, engaging in legal debates, soaking in the intellectual currents. It was an immersion into a world that, while physically in London, had tentacles reaching out to govern the vast British Empire, shaping laws and justice systems globally.
But it wasn't just the prestige of the institution that solidified his destiny. Our sources tell us there was a single profound moment, right at the entrance, that truly cemented his resolve, offered a deeply personal affirmation of his chosen path.
Yes, this is a truly pivotal and incredibly resonant detail. At the entrance of Lincoln's Inn, intricately carved into the stone, among the names of the world's greatest lawgivers from across history and diverse civilizations, Jinnah saw a name that profoundly resonated with him: Muhammad, the Prophet of Islam.
Wow, just imagine that moment, standing there, maybe amidst the bustling London day, surrounded by these towering symbols of Western jurisprudence, a tradition seemingly distant from his own. And then seeing that name, for a young man grappling with an entirely new identity and purpose, it must have been an absolute revelation, a powerful psychological re-anchoring to his roots, even as he was embracing a radically different future.
And if we connect this to the bigger picture, this wasn't just a name, it was an immensely powerful symbol for Jinnah, particularly at that vulnerable, formative stage.
Right.
For a young man making such a significant career pivot, diverging from his family's expectations, this inscription provided a profound, almost divine validation.
Like a sign.
Exactly. It powerfully suggested that the tradition of law, far from being alien or exclusive to a different culture or faith, was deeply rooted in his own. It was, in essence, a personal sign, an affirmation that his decision was not just intellectually sound, but also spiritually aligned with a tradition of justice and moral authority he deeply revered.
That's a powerful thought. It would have had an immense emotional and spiritual resonance, a sudden clarity, a profound sense of destiny, maybe.
It seems like it.
It's almost as if the universe was confirming his choice, giving him that extra push of confidence and conviction at a critical juncture in his life. That a single unexpected inscription could ignite such a powerful, unwavering resolve is truly remarkable.
And this raises an important question, doesn't it? How might this moment have cemented his belief in law not just as a profession, but as a tool for justice and profound public service, rather than simply personal ambition?
Yeah, it elevates it.
It suggests a moral compass being set. A clear sense that this new path was not just for personal gain, but for something far greater, something that connected his identity, his faith, and his future. The sources tell us that from that moment, he resolved to dedicate his life to law, and through law, to the service of his people. And this resolve wasn't just a fleeting thought. It fundamentally shaped his entire approach to his studies and his demanding life in London.
Indeed. It wasn't just about learning the intricacies of the law. It was about embodying its principles, internalizing its moral foundations. So how did this youthful resolve, this profound sense of purpose, translate into his daily life in London? A city that could be both exhilaratingly vibrant and incredibly demanding, right? Often pushing individuals to their limits.
Well, London life in the 1890s was undeniably challenging, especially for a young student far from home, reliant on remittances that were, often tight.
Yeah, that.
It was expensive, the winters were notoriously harsh and damp, a stark contrast to the Karachi climate, and the cultural environment was, in many ways, entirely alien.
Easy to get lost.
Very easy. Many young men, as our sources suggest, might have been swept away by luxury or despair, falling prey to the city's myriad temptations, the music halls, the pubs, the social clubs, or, succumbing to its difficulties and loneliness.
But Jinnah chose a markedly different path.
Completely different. A path of unwavering, almost austere discipline.
That's a testament to incredible strength of character, isn't it? Our sources detail how he lived modestly, carefully managing his meager expenses, always with a remarkable restraint.
Mm,
He studied rigorously, often well into the night, and cured himself with almost fastidious elegance.
yeah.
Always immaculately well-dressed, famously punctual, impeccably polite, maintained a quiet dignity.
Yeah. His professors took keen note of his seriousness and intellectual rigor, and his peers, too, must have observed his quiet, unshakable determination. This wasn't just surface-level behavior, it was an ingrained way of life.
These weren't superficial habits then.
Not at all. They were profound reflections of a deep inner resolve, a burgeoning strategic self-mastery. Think about the deliberate choices he made.
Like what?
Instead of spending his evenings in the vibrant theaters or bustling clubs that London profusely offered, Jinnah immersed himself in the hushed quiet of libraries, observing courtrooms, meticulously noting arguments and judicial rulings,
Okay.
and engaging in intellectual debates within the Inns of Court. This wasn't just about getting good grades or passing exams, it was about actively building a principled character, one brick at a time, within the crucible of a demanding city.
So this period was his early lesson in, what, strategic self-mastery.
That's a good way to put it. A blueprint for how a singular disciplined focus could overcome overwhelming odds, a lesson he would later apply to the seemingly impossible task of nation building.
It's about consciously choosing a path that prioritizes intellectual and moral growth over immediate gratification or, societal distractions. This wasn't just about passing exams. It was about laying the bedrock foundation for a life of grander purpose. One built on logic, reason, meticulous preparation, and unwavering integrity. And London, in its vastness, offered an education far beyond the formal textbooks.
Oh, absolutely. London provided Jinnah with an unparalleled intellectual awakening, an immersion in the very operating system of the British Empire.
Right.
It wasn't just the formal legal education at Lincoln's Inn, it was the immersive exposure to the parliamentary system in action, the intricacies of constitutional law, and the vast currents of political thought that defined the leading global power.
I can just picture him, can't you? Attending debates in the hallowed chambers of the House of Commons.
Yeah.
Perhaps perched silently in the public gallery, observing intently as towering figures of the day grappled with legislation and national policy. Our sources specifically mention him listening to great orators like William Gladstone, the four-time prime minister, known for his moral conviction and forensic debating style.
A giant of the era.
And H.H. Asquith, a brilliant lawyer and future prime minister. He wasn't just a spectator. He was a diligent student of rhetoric, political strategy, governance in action, absorbing how power was articulated and laws were forged.
And what's profoundly fascinating here is how this constant immersion actively shaped his fundamental beliefs about governance and society. This wasn't passive intellectual consumption, it was active intellectual formation.
So he's really engaging with it.
Deeply, a deep engagement with the very mechanisms of power. Beyond the live debates, he delved into the seminal works of political philosophy. Imagine Jinnah not just reading, but grappling with the ideas of Edmund Burke.
Right, the conservative thinker.
Who championed the wisdom of tradition, the cautious approach to reform, the dangers of revolutionary zeal, a powerful counterpoint to radical thought.
Oh.
Then consider John Stuart Mill, whose writings on individual liberty, representative government, and the tyranny of the majority would have offered a profound blueprint for safeguarding rights within a democratic framework.
Crucial ideas.
And Walter Bagehot, with his practical, incisive analysis of the English Constitution in his work, The English Constitution, he would have demystified the intricate, often unwritten workings of parliamentary sovereignty, revealing the dignified and efficient parts of government.
So these thinkers weren't just academics for Jinnah.
No, not at all. They were providing the very architectural blueprints for a just, stable, and progressive society. This imbued him with an unwavering belief in constitutionalism, not as a rigid set of rules, but as a living, evolving framework for progress and protection.
So he wasn't just absorbing facts, he was absorbing a philosophy of governance, a rigorous method of analytical thought that would become his hallmark.
Precisely.
It's like getting a masterclass in the very architecture of a stable, functioning society. These experiences deeply instilled in him a profound respect for constitutionalism, the rule of law, and the dignity of reason rather than emotional debate.
Yes, he was building his intellectual framework piece by meticulous piece.
And this intellectual formation distinguished him significantly, didn't it?
It really did. Unlike many leaders who might rely primarily on passion or populism to sway public opinion or consolidate power, Jinnah's path was shaped by this rational constitutional culture.
Right.
He came to believe, firmly and unequivocally, that law and justice are the only foundations upon which nations can be built. That conviction wasn't just an abstract idea for him.
No.
It was a deeply ingrained principle, honed by his experiences in London, a principle he would carry with him throughout his life.
So what does this all mean? It means London wasn't just a place where Jinnah learned about the law. It was where he learned how to think about the very architecture of society and nationhood.
Well put.
It was where his intellectual toolkit was assembled piece by piece within the grand crucible of the British Empire. And his profound intellectual ascent, however, was forged not in comfort, but often through profound personal trials and quiet hardship.
Exactly. This intellectual development was coupled with a personal fortitude forged through genuine hardship. London life was not plain sailing for him, far from it.
Right. Our sources confirm that life in London presented genuine, grinding hardships. He faced persistently tight finances,
Always a struggle.
the relentless chill and dampness of the unforgiving English winters, and a profound sense of loneliness that often weighs heavily on anyone far from home, isolated in a foreign land.
Mm-hmm. It can be crushing.
Yet amidst all this, Jinnah never faltered. He carefully managed his expenses, living with a remarkable restraint and frugality that would have been challenging for any young person. He persevered relentlessly in his studies, demonstrating an iron will.
And this speaks volumes about his inner strength and, well, nascent leadership qualities. We have to consider the psychological and emotional toll such struggles can take.
Yeah, absolutely.
Especially on a young man navigating a completely alien environment, thousands of miles from his family and familiar cultural comforts. His resilience wasn't just about enduring these difficulties, it was about actively cultivating a steady determination, a resolve that hardship would not derail his purpose.
So this experience was more than just academic study.
Oh, much more. It was a forge for his character, shaping an inner strength and unwavering self-reliance that would eventually become his trademark throughout his life. It was a baptism by fire, really, that honed his will.
It's a powerful lesson in itself, isn't it? We often romanticize success, but rarely do we delve into the quiet, often lonely struggles that build the capacity for it.
So true.
Acknowledging those very human elements, the moments of doubt, the deep solitude, the biting cold, maybe even hunger he must have faced, it makes his eventual perseverance all the more remarkable. And importantly, relatable to anyone striving for a difficult goal.
And this raises an important question. How did these early struggles in London become a critical training ground for the immense challenges he would face much later in life?
Good point.
Whether it was navigating complex political negotiations with the powerful Indian National Congress, standing firm against the formidable British Raj, or even battling personal illness in his later years, that same steady determination and self-discipline, honed in his youth amidst London's hardships, remained a core defining part of his character.
So it was in London that he truly learned the meaning of tenacity, the power of internal fortitude.
I think so, yes.
And all this determination, all this rigorous study, and profound personal sacrifice. It led to a truly remarkable achievement. Far sooner than many would have expected for a young man in his position, especially one who had only recently pivoted his entire career path.
Indeed. In 1896, at the astonishingly young age of just 19, 19, Jinnah was formally called to the bar. This meant he had successfully completed his rigorous legal training at Lincoln's Inn and was officially qualified to practice law as a barrister.
Wow.
He became one of the youngest Indian barristers in London at that time, a significant marker of his exceptional intellect and dedication.
That is an extraordinary accomplishment. It wasn't just a personal success, it was a profound symbolic triumph, wasn't it?
Absolutely.
Think about it. A boy from Karachi, from relatively modest means in the context of London's elite, had, through sheer ambition, discipline, and intellectual brilliance, entered the highly exclusive ranks of the British legal system. This must have had immense implications for his sense of self-efficacy, his confidence, his belief in his own capabilities to shape his destiny. It was a validation of his audacious pivot.
Absolutely. Imagine the immense pride and satisfaction of that moment, receiving the official call to the bar. It marked the culmination of years of intense work, difficult choices, unwavering commitment to a vision that had at first seemed so distant from his father's plans. It signified his transformation from a young, uncertain student into a formally recognized professional, a member of an elite legal fraternity ready to embark on a career of profound consequence.
This was the moment his London dreams truly took flight.
You could say that? Yes.
With his degree in hand and a character forged in the crucible of London, he was no longer just the trader's apprentice his father had envisioned. He was returning to India as something far, far different.
Completely transformed.
A fully qualified lawyer, a sophisticated thinker, and indeed a future leader, equipped with a powerful new set of skills, a deeply honed intellect, and a resolutely forged character.
And looking back at his London years, our sources distill, well, 3 enduring lessons from Jinnah's transformative journey. Lessons that remain incredibly relevant for young people today, whether they're in Pakistan or anywhere else striving for purpose and impact.
Okay, so what does this all mean for you, the listener, navigating your own path? The first lesson is profoundly simple, yet eternally powerful. Education is power.
Crucial.
Jinnah chose law, and it became his indispensable weapon for leadership. A tool to dissect arguments, advocate for rights, construct a vision. For you today, whether your passion lies in science, tech, engineering, the arts, or indeed law, rigorous learning remains the ultimate source of strength and leverage.
Absolutely.
It empowers you to understand the world, to critique it, to shape it, and to lead with conviction in your chosen field. It's about equipping yourself with the intellectual arsenal to tackle any challenge.
And that leads directly to the second crucial lesson. Discipline defines destiny. Despite the immense hardship he faced, the temptations, the loneliness, Jinnah maintained an organized, elegant, and deeply principled approach to his life and studies. This unwavering discipline, cultivated meticulously in those challenging London winters, later became the very backbone of his political struggle.
It taught him the importance of meticulous planning, unwavering focus.
Rigorous self-control, absolute integrity in pursuing his ambitious goals. It was his silent, constant companion.
It's a timeless truth, isn't it? Whether you're an aspiring entrepreneur building a startup, an artist honing your craft, a researcher pushing boundaries, or a community leader advocating for change, your personal habits, your commitment to order, your disciplined approach will profoundly impact your long-term goals.
Without a doubt.
These aren't just historical observations about Jinnah, they are universal principles demonstrated through his journey, proving that deliberate, consistent effort truly shapes what you become and what you achieve.
And finally, the third enduring lesson: global knowledge, local service.
Tell me more.
Jinnah didn't just passively absorb the intellectual and legal wisdom of London, he immersed himself in it, deeply engaging with its constitutional thought and parliamentary system. But critically, he brought that knowledge back.
Right. He didn't stay.
No. He returned to serve his own people, applying what he learned on a global stage, the principles of self-governance, constitutionalism, the rule of law to address local challenges and aspirations, ultimately for the benefit of millions.
This is so profoundly important for today's interconnected world. It means you can travel, study, or engage with global perspectives and ideas from anywhere on the planet.
Exactly.
But the goal isn't just personal enrichment or, the accumulation of individual success. It's about harnessing that diverse knowledge, those international insights, and investing it back into your community, your country, or your chosen field of progress.
Bringing the best of the world to bear on the issues that matter most to you locally, creating impact where it's needed most. Ultimately, London was more than just a city where Jinnah pursued his formal education. As our sources eloquently put it, it was the forge in which his mind and character were shaped.
A powerful image.
It was here, far from the familiar shores of Karachi, that he made the transformative choice to dedicate himself to law, to deeply absorb the intricate principles of constitutional governance, and to build the bedrock of discipline and unwavering integrity that would one day enable him to lead a nation.
His London dreams. They weren't centered on accumulating personal wealth or indulging in luxury, though such paths were certainly available to him.
No, not at all.
They were about something far more profound. About rigorous learning, about forging an unshakable character, and about preparing for a life of profound public service. That initial purpose, a clear, well-defined path towards commerce, utterly transformed into a world-changing destiny, leading millions towards a new future they could scarcely have imagined.
And this reminds us that great dreams, and indeed great destinies, often begin in the most unexpected places, sometimes in moments of quiet personal conviction and tireless, unyielding dedication.
Like that moment at Lincoln's Inn.
Perhaps. A boy who went abroad to learn business returned as a lawyer destined to lead millions. So for you, the listener, where are your London dreams being forged, even if you don't realize it yet?
Hmm.
Where are the choices you're making right now building the foundations for a future you can barely imagine?